Tonight's program is brought to you by the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, empowering Hawaiians, strengthening Hawaii. Closed captioning for tonight's broadcast provided by Chaminade University, with numerous scholarships now available for students of Native Hawaiian ancestry.
Who is Auntie Irmgard, or who was she? She is very much and is for me. An angel being, someone who's around for us mere mortals, who is an exemplar of love and kindness.
She loved unconditionally, and that held true for everyone she knew.
Auntie was the most gracious, nicest, most humble person there ever was.
Her life was an art form, and her special love was music.
You can't really pinpoint Auntie's music into just one specific category because she had a variety of different songs.
She has traditional Hawaiian songs. She has songs that have come to her in dreams. She has children's songs. She has religious songs. She has mele inoa. She has mele vahipana. She has what would be considered American classic songs. It's wonderful to see the wide, expansive genre that she has in her songs.
Silvery green, kukui trees.
Auntie Irmgard was born on October 7th, 1911, in a place called Pu'unoa, Mala, Lahaina, Maui. Great-grandfather was a luna of the plantation.
A sugar plantation where I was born and raised. My dad was one of the bosses. Our family, there were 13 all together, children, and we really stuck together and played together and shared our years together.
At sundown.
We had a piano and other instruments, violins and guitars, ukuleles. Sit around and play the ukulele and sing songs. We just loved to do that.
And Irmgard was another one who just came along and grabbed a guitar, grabbed an ukulele, and all by ear.
And piano too. Mommy taught herself how to play the piano.
Right.
Mommy did say that as a child she was very poetic. She loved poetry. And as a child she wrote poetry. And so I think that this was something that carried on throughout her life.
She and my sister Diana sang with Annie Kerr, and they had this famous Annie Kerr trio.
Annie Kerr heard of these two young ladies. Annie happened to be in Lahaina, and she listened to them, and she said, when you come to Honolulu, let's connect. Annie met up with them, and they formed the Annie Kerr Trio in 1925. But Annie Kerr girls were so popular, and you figure this, in 1923, when they first started the Annie Kerr Trio, they were the first pop Hawaiian music.
And they would dress with white gloves and wear the ball gowns, and they were really well dressed and very chic, and they would be the band to hire for all the harvest dances throughout Oahu and Maui.
When they came home to perform for the people in Lahaina, that's when I realized that she was different.
family home was actually in Lahaina. It was in two places. It was actually in Mala, which is north, just outside of Lahaina town. And then my grandfather moved the family to what is more famously known as the Puamana area, which is just south of Lahaina proper town.
Not too long after the family moved into Puamana, great-grandfather gave each child a sprouting coconut tree.
And along the front of that property, each one of us planted a coconut tree.
And your Irmgard used to talk about remembering they would compare whose tree was growing taller, faster. But each child was given a tree and told, go ahead and plant this tree, and when these trees grow, so will you. As these trees grow, so will you.
It was a very, very happy, secure, wonderful life there.
And that's where the family really kind of grew up and where the song Puamana originates from. I know the fact that the song was written by my mother and the words were kind of given to her by her father, is what I understand it.
She was at home, and it was prior to lunchtime, and she was playing the piano, and she got a tune, and she said, "Oh, this is going to be for Puamana," without thinking. Auntie Emma walks over, and she said, "Oh, that's a nice tune, Irmgard. What is that for?" She said, "Oh, that's I'm going to write, this is for Puamana. I'm writing this now." She said, "Emma, try do some steps." So Auntie Emma's doing her steps, and Auntie Irmgard is solidifying this. When the lunch whistle blows, I guess, lunchtime from the plantation, great-grandfather comes home on his horse. And he comes in the door, and apparently they don't even let him have lunch. He said, "Daddy, come sit down, sit down. I want you to hear this." So he said, "Oh." He said, "This is for Puamana." And without hesitation, great-grandfather comes out with the words, "Puamana ku'uhome i lahaina, mena pua alo nauna, ku'uhome i aloha ia." I asked Auntie Irmgard before she died, knowing your grandfather was a very rough man, very masculine man, I cannot conceive him writing about flowers. Do you think he was probably thinking Hawaiian and referring to you folks when he says, "My flowers, which are so precious, or filled with scent"? And she said, "You know something? I think so."
Today's date, Monday, September 14, 1964. The following tape will be on music compositions done by Mary Kavena Pukui and Irmgard Farden Aluli, with all Hawaiian lyrics done by Mrs. Pukui and the music by Irmgard Aluli.
Eyo mai oe, maui no e ka
The art of hakumele is understanding that you are to deliver a message or deliver a picture without having a picture. You figure our kupuna, our ancient kupuna, didn't have cameras. So how are they going to tell you how lovely this flower is, or how great this person is, or how beautiful this area is, or how much they love someone? They write a song. And Auntie Irmgard, one of the foremost composers in Hawaiian music, was able to skillfully deliver her message.
Her life was about music. So it wasn't as if it was a category or a place. Her music was her life. Her life was her music. I love that idea. So that's a great inspiration for me as an artist. Be what you are, do what you love.
And everything around Mom just inspired her to write. That's how she expressed herself, was through her music. So many times she'd be out and about and just words of music would just come to her. Something would inspire her. And her hundreds of songs have hundreds of varied stories of how they were written.
It was written one day of her that she wrote more than 300 songs. So I created this document for her. And and all it shows are just a bunch of songs that she and I came up with, that she's composed. And I went, Auntie, this is not 300 songs. And she said, I never said I composed 300. Somebody said that and it stuck. But you know, it's funny because even after her death, you know, then I find this listing, and there's songs, a lot of the songs on here are not on my list, and this is in her writing. And then there's one more list I'm finding here, and I look at these songs, I never even heard of them.
In many cases, there's songs we don't really know because Mom was prolific. She wrote lots of music and we didn't hear it all.
And she wrote it on the back of napkins. We've got some folders of Mom's music, and I mean, there are pieces of paper that on one side was, you know, something that didn't mean anything. On the other side, she had music written down, and folders where on the inside of one flap she'd have a song, and the other side, the other flap would have another song. You know, it'd be partially finished, and then
in some cases, Mom wrote right on the spot, like right now. And in other cases, she took time to, like years, to write. So it could be years, it could be weeks, it could be months, and it could be just a moment right now.
Like a song would come when I'm, you know, I should be doing my housework or my duties as a wife, you know, at home while the children at school. And if I sat at the piano, then it would be one song coming and another one, and either I just put aside everything and do the music or forget about it. That's why I had to make a choice.
She was discouraged at one point. What are you writing all of these Hawaiian songs for? It's not going to get you anywhere. She was very discouraged. And one day, I guess, she got to a point where she was so sad, she took her guitar and went out to the beach, to the water's edge. And she sat on some rocks and she prayed. And then she was about ready to throw her guitar into the water and say, forget this, Paul. And she heard a voice say, Kakau me ka'avi. And she looked at it and she said, that's my answer. She called Mrs. Pukui and she said, Kovena, what does kakau me ka'avi mean? Well, kakau means to write, and avi, maybe it means quickly, avivi. And then she realized at that time that was her answer. Not to listen to anyone discouraging her, but to continue doing what she's doing. And thank God, because after that, beautiful songs came. I mean, you know, some of her classics came after that too.
Those big years were 68 forward. Till the time she passed away, she was very creative in her songwriting and also very collaborative with other people.
And people would ask me, you know, oh, my birthday's coming up. Can you do a song for me? Things like that. So we just got into the habit of composing. And I helped her because she couldn't read. She couldn't read music. But it came out of her soul, and she could compose a song immediately, as long as she understood, you know, what the situation was.
You know, the song Kulaya Pahia, which is being sung too in Song Contest, was her dream song. And she had another dream song before, and she told me it was for my grandfather because it was a Haleakala song, and my grandfather's name is Haleakala. And she said, oh, I waited and waited and waited all day. I did my housework. Tune was beautiful. And it came to me, and she waited, and I should have been doing this. And then by noon, completely gone. So one night she had another dream. There was a woman in white and red sitting on a piano playing and singing this song. She woke up in the morning and she put the pen to the paper and it finished the rest of it, just like that. She said, felt as if I wasn't controlling. I say two things. One is I say, she met her guardian angel. That's beautiful. And secondly, I say, Auntie, that's your muse. You met your muse.
Listen to my call.
See, Auntie Irmgard didn't speak Hawaiian, and she wanted to so dearly. There are songs that she wrote in Hawaiian that she had no knowledge of how. She said it just came to her. The words like Emaliumai, for example, she wrote it all by herself. She took it to her aunt and she said, "Auntie, can you check these words?" And Auntie Ka said, "You didn't compose this." She said, "I did, Auntie. You couldn't have. You don't speak Hawaiian." She said, "No, I did compose this song, Auntie." So that was her answer, that the words were good. Puamana was formed, the group, in 1966. Now, what was happening is the Annie Kerr girls were still going. And then there was so much demand for them that they divided the island in half. And they said, okay, any song or concerts or things we have to do on the KEOLA side will be Puamana. Irmgard, Diana, Thelma, Anahu. Anybody on Central side or this Kona side here, Honolulu side, will be Auntie Helani, Mila, and Auntie Thelma also played, and Auntie Elizabeth, and whoever would at that time too. Then that went from 1966 to 1976. Then Auntie Diana felt, I think I'm not gonna go out and sing, and I can't do this. You know, Auntie was gonna be 70 soon, Auntie Diana, so she felt, I think I'm gonna stop going out and singing, you know, performing. It's a strain. She's at the age where she may want to just retire from that. So she decided to rest, and Auntie Irmgard said, oh, okay. She brought her daughters in, Neaulani and Mihana.
I remember when I was a young mother, I think I was 33, and I had been making hadlays for weddings and bouquets. You can't freeze those things, so I remember I was working really hard, and I finally went to my mother and I went, what do I have to do to sing with you? He said, well, go get yourself a bass and we'll see what I can do. Well, I called my cousin up, Keikua, who was a bass player. He said, come up, I'll give you a bass. He gave me a bass, I bought it back. She taught me how to play that night in 20 minutes. And we have never had a free weekend since. And then after that, Luana came in, Ima came in, and now Ima plays the bass, I play guitar, and Luana plays the ukulele.
I'm still playing the ukulele.
And I know when I first started, I was so extremely shy to join the group, but Mom and my sisters and cousins just encouraged me, you can do it. I said, but my kind of music, I mean, I've grown up with loving and appreciating Hawaiian music, and I've just always been surrounded by it. But I love rock and roll. And they said, that's okay, come in. And I found my voice, it just came. It was a high soprano, and it just fit right in with the rest of the group.
You just had your babies. Napali and Summer were both born within a couple of months of each other. Willard Scott's
weatherman.
the weatherman for Good Morning America contacted me. Says, well, we want you to stay up all night long and sing on the steps of Iolani Palace. All these great groups lined up, and I called up Auntie Irmgard to ask what she thought there, and I said, well, do you think the girls are going to want to do this where they have their babies and they're breastfeeding them every 2 hours, and they're going to have to stay up there. I don't know how we're going to do this. We're going to be parked under the banyan tree at Iolani Palace all night long. And she said, well, let's just ask them. And I said, yeah, I intend to, but would you want to do it? And she said, why not? And I said, what for? And she said, for the fun of it.
Last jobs that we would have, or the performances that we would do, we wouldn't tell her what they were because she would stay up all night and change it. But she worried, is it good enough? And she changed it so often. And I remember, she was changing up until she went on stage. And you know, she worked really hard and she'd be really tired. And you could see that up until she was 90. But you get her on stage and you would see that sparkle in her. All of a sudden she'd come alive. She absolutely lived to share.
In the dusk.
She had just come back from a round-the-world trip. She went with her siblings. She meets Uncle Nane at, I think it was Kailua Tavern. And he was in love with her. She was beautiful. You know, and he's this handsome Chinese Hawaiian man. And she's this beautiful Hapa Hawaiian girl. And I guess they started courting a while, and it was a long time before he told her that he was much younger than she was. And then when she finally told him, she said, I was so upset, but what can you do? I was in love with him already. And I said, well, you would have said something if you knew earlier. She goes, yeah, I wouldn't have danced with him or gone out with him. Uncle Nane was in the army, and he said, I gotta get married. You know, they're gonna send us off. You gotta be married. It's better you're married. We know when they send you off.
She didn't want to marry him because she had just been on a trip around the world with her brothers and sisters, and she owed money and she wanted to pay that off first. And because he did join the army, she agreed to marry, and they had a small wedding at Puamana. And then he was to leave to perform his war duties.
She met Nani and fell in love, and so that's how she began writing more and more.
As a young bride, missing her loved one, she started to pen, I lie awake at night, the hours go slowly by.
When she shared the song with our dad wrote that words to her, and that will be in the music that we sing tonight. I hug my pillow tight and dream into the night, dreaming of all you.
And dream into the night, dreaming of all your charms, and
So when we got together as a family, there was always music, and there was always hula, and there was always singing, and it involved not only the adults, but the children.
And none of us were excused, by the way. None of us ever got off easy. You know, if she said, okay, it's your time to dance, whether you danced or not, you got up because the aunties asked you. And that's the way it was. So in that respect, it was really quite extraordinary. because it's good training for us.
Even as an adult woman, she would say, okay, Luana, you and Peter, come sing now. Otherwise, we would be shy. So you need the encouragement of your elders, always. And our aunties and uncles were always there.
When we kanikapila, just family singing, and I can remember her voice as she sang. It was just like a warm, loving voice, and words can't really describe the kind of feeling you got around her. You could sense the love she had for us.
And then my really most memorable is the day that she went to heaven. We were all gathered and we used to spend the night with her, and I remember Ima had spent the night before and she had called the next day. I was on Molokai. She said, you have to come, Mommy's gonna be leaving. So I flew in, and the nurse had told us that Mommy was going to be leaving. She was in a coma. And I remember going in and saying, well, if my mother's gonna go, all her brothers and sisters are here, and all her friends and her family, there maybe was 40 of us, all the cousins, everybody was there. And they're saying goodbye to her now. And I just don't want her to go by herself. And as soon as she said that, she said, oh, your mother is leaving now. So we gathered everyone together and we sang we sang Puamana for a peaceful world. And we sang Emily Umai, and at the end of Emily Umai, she left. And it was sort of like, it was like a miracle. We all got to see her become an angel. I remember we felt like it was a privilege to be with her.
Another thing about Puamana, the song, when a family member died, my cousin Kikua Fernandez started that. When a family member passes away, we stand in a circle around the casket or the urn, and we sing that. That's our final song before we send that person off. It was interesting feeling. It was an interesting feeling to have to sing it for the composer, you know, at her funeral, to do this. And it was very sad. I was really broken up when Auntie died, because she wasn't just my auntie, but she was my teacher.
I was just saying that I've heard so many stories over the years, sitting at the feet of this big family, and I was saying to you, it's so multidimensional, and it was a very enriched experience that they all had as a family, and each individual member has their own just incredible scope of memories.
Do you know what crack seed is? Do you know what Lick Young is? Yeah. Well, it's an old brand that used to be in the store. Anyway, I guess Mom, we were driving around, she says, oh, Yiklung, and then all of a sudden we're in Yiklung getting all kinds of Yiklung candy, and I'm wondering, wow, how'd she do this? Little did I know that she wrote this song, Yummy, Yummy Crack Seed. It's about candy. It's about Seymour. Somehow she got this into the manager, and I guess the manager hired her to...
Let me check your teeth.
The manager hired her to create music, right, for this, Mama?
Commercial. Yeah, I think that's true.
Yummy, yummy crack seed, tastes so very good. Come from Hong Kong, China, yes, so very good.
Oh no, crack seed, tasty little fruit. Every little boy and girl like eat crack seed. Oh no, crack seed, make you smacky lip. Buy 'em in the cellar pack, pretty good for you.
She turned that into a money maker, a jingle, and ever since
We
then,
had
we got
Yiklung for years.
Yeah.
Auntie was the most gracious, nicest, most humble person there ever was. When Prince Hotel first opened, I had taken her and this other person, Auntie Judy, because their birthdays were very close in October. And so I had taken them to lunch there. And when we got there, I knew the hostess, and so she would always give us this window seat, although you're not supposed to make a reservation for window seats, but she would give us. And Auntie Irmgard said, "Oh, this is such a wonderful place. The view is beautiful. Oh, I think I'll bring my friend for her birthday." So Auntie calls me a few days later and she'll say to me, you know, Auntie was the most well-known person in Hawaii. And she called me and she says, "Betty, I made a reservation at Prince Hotel and I used your name, you know. I told her I was your friend." And I burst into laughter because here she was so well-known and she's telling them that, "Oh, I'm Betty Ikehara's friend," just so she thinks that's how she was going to get the table by the window, you know. So she called to tell me that she had used my name, and I thought it was so funny. But that's how humble she was. She really didn't know the extent of her celebrity, you know.
The last song Auntie Irmgard composed was With Me, and it was written for one of her best buddies, Auntie Thelma Bugby. We were sitting around and we were chatting, and Auntie Thelma was a native speaker of Hawaiian who co-composed. She composed songs with Auntie Irmgard too, and I felt bad that this is her best buddy and no more song for her. So I just scribbled onto the paper. I wrote verses out, and I finished it while we're sitting there. And Auntie Thelma's there, and I hand the pad to Auntie Irmgard, and I tell her. By this time, Auntie Thelma couldn't hear that well, so she couldn't hear me necessarily telling Auntie Irmgard this. And I said, "Auntie, I just wrote these words for Auntie Thelma. Can you come up with some music?" She goes, "Oh, okay." So she gets up, she goes into her bedroom, and she comes right out. "Okay, I'm ready." And then we write this song for Auntie Thelma. I don't know if I remember, but just to give you an idea. Hevehi keia noe kalei kaua lulehua o aiku Hevehi keia noe kalei kaua lulehua o aiku.
Everybody, top of page 6, Puamana. 1, 2, sit up, go.
This year's Song Contest theme actually celebrates the life of Auntie Irmgard Farden Aluli because I think 2011 would have marked her 100th year of birth.
The fact that Kamehameha Schools is recognizing my mother, her accomplishments, and her music, I think I think as a family that we're very appreciative of that, and thank you.
The songs that were picked, and went through a nice process with Randy. We looked at a bunch of songs, this kind of list that we have here, and we said, okay, what kind of songs would lend greatly to choral music? Because choral music versus hula music, yeah, big difference. My cousins come in, we sang a CD of 28 songs that could be potential selections. And then the the CD, I guess Randy and I worked, and Randy narrowed it down a little bit more, that we took those songs, went to the student leaders and said, each of you have a CD, went over the song with them, explained it to them, and say, you folks pick.
I picked Aloha Kolave. This song is arranged very simply, but it gets to the point. Like, I guess it's like the music, we're trying to show the music, but it's also like the words, because it's the love for your Aina. That's what I'm trying to get to my class, is love for your Aina, and remember where you came from.
I chose Kula Iapahia because I just had a connection with it when I first listened to it. I had so many other decisions to choose from, but when I listened to it over, I felt that our class could do well with this song, so I chose it. Yeah, you get to know your class through that first year, freshman year, during song contest. So when I chose it, you just have to like match it with your class's personality. And I pictured it with the girls, and I just knew that they could pull it off.
Oh.
We're singing Momia o Ku'upu'uvai. I chose it because the melody is so melodic in the sense that you can visually hear the waterfall that it speaks about in Ho'oa Valley. And when I was listening to the song, I could hear my men singing it, and the tone and quality that they can produce, it just matched perfectly, so I chose it for that.
Junior song for the women's, I chose E Pili Mai o Ia'u, and it was Auntie Irmgard's only Na Hoku Hano Hano award-winning song that she won, so I think that's a really great achievement. And that was one thing that stood out to me when I picked the song. Another thing was I really liked, it was one of the only songs that had a 3/4 type of tempo song, so I kind of like that too, kind of like a waltz feeling. And it's an easy melody for the girls to learn, and so it's really simple. I really like the meaning of it. Or she offered to make a song, compose a song that dealt with the death of Like Like. So she was dying and she was calling out to her husband Cleghorn to come and stay with her. So E Pili Mai o Ia'u is a duet between Cleghorn and Like Like. So she's telling him, E Pili Mai o Ia'u, come stay with me, and he's reassuring her that he'll take care of her.
This song, Puamana Ikaveku, you know, it's a love song, and what happened was that Frank Ahala wrote it for his lover, and what the title means literally is budding blossom in the summit, but if you were to take it in Hawaiian terms in Kauna, you would see that what the title means is that the lover that he has is a flower, his favorite flower, Puamana. And what he's saying is that he's taking that favorite flower and he's putting her in the summit, putting her above everything else because he loves her so much. To tell you the truth, I love music so much, and to be able to be here and to, at Kamehameha schools, to learn more about my Hawaiian culture and mesh those two things together, that's just amazing.
taught me how to love you in an old Hawaiian way. You taught me how to hula and to surf out in the spray. It wasn't any trouble learning from you, for you taught me how to love you in an old Hawaiian way.
I really miss her strength of character more than anything else, and her unconditional love. She loved unconditionally, and that held true for everyone she knew.
She is filled with love. She imbued love. And you know, she made you feel welcome no matter what. I always felt like she was another grandmother to me. Never felt like I'm not part of your line. You know, and I think that's a good lesson that today's kupuna might learn from the kupuna before.
Mom is mom. You can't replace her. You can only remember her now. And it is not only the music, but in the love that she gathered in us.
And she did tell me one time, aloha is the decision to be kind, and she was, and to give your very best. She was as gracious as they come, and everything she did the best. I mean, everything she gave the best she had, and she gave the most that she could. Just to look at Mommy, anyone knows how to love, because she was such a good example. And believe me, sometimes it's tough. I know we're all going through many things, but she really, really sets a wonderful example of what it is to be Hawaiian.
The times have changed now with all the money, shows. I'm up against where, you know, forget about the money already. If you cannot perform with love, if you cannot teach with love, then it's not what we're here for, especially from our family.
When I think about her, I think about her tenderness. And you can see it in her, in the way she acts, and in the way she spoke, and the way she sang, and the way she cared for her family. She's an amazing person. That is who Auntie Irmgard is.
What we cannot forget is, in all this, Auntie Irmgard belonged, I believe, to Hawaii. Like any other of our great kupuna, she belonged to Hawaii.
Everyone has kuleana, and that's what she's about for me. She's about kuleana. She's about taking your talents, utilizing them, and bringing them forward to share.
What Mom did is she gave a lot of herself. She would consistently perform and give of her music and her time. So she was more of a giving person, and she gave and she gave and she gave. And over time, after years and years of giving, she was recognized. You know, her music came out.
A lot of the songs have not even been heard by these children. I mean, they wouldn't really listen to it, but these are the older songs, and I want to be able to continue, as I said before, continue to keep these songs going for our small ones, well, younger ones, to continue with this.
She's taught us also to be watchful and to share in our own way. And we all encourage our children to not only write music, but to write stories and to study and to really, really be successful here in your land, and to love what's before you and to make better all of those things which make up our paradise. And that's really what Mommy has passed on through us, is to really stand forth as a Hawaiian in this place that we love.
Hana no e ka oi, aina o umikanani. Hana ho olpu'urai, uhi maila ke ala puni I kahala. Tears are falling, a heart is breaking, body's aching. In shalole, no delay. One, come on and make it now. No hila, hila, holo, holo, down the way. Auntie made tripe stew today. So make it fast, step on the gas.
So Ho'ike is a nice culmination tonight of the festivities of celebrating the music of Auntie Irmgard's musical journey. And we're calling tonight's Ho'ike From Irmgard with Love.
The stylings of Auntie was so important, and you're going to see that evident in the Ho'ike with the way that the girls perform, because many kumu do not use very flowery hands, and that's one of our very significant ways of dancing the hula. When you dance, you're always looking at your hands, but very flowery. And you're going to see that when the girls dance their emotions, what they actually do is they're using that, and I love seeing that. And part of that really brings out the Auntie Emma style of hula.
This year's Ho'ike, I'd have to say my favorite part is almost everything. You know, it almost feels like you're growing up along with the Ho'ike.
We open up with our children from the Kamehameha Elementary Choir. They're doing one of Auntie Irmgard and Pilahipaki's classic Opae. That is a song that really Auntie Irmgard didn't have much credit for, because when it was first recorded, it was recorded as a traditional piece. Going to Aloha Kaho'olave, one of the only known mele that recounts life on Kaho'olave, riding the horse, naming many place names. We have One Little Dream of You, which recounts Auntie Irmgard and Uncle Nani's love for each other. And that's going to be a beautiful thing to look forward to. This year we thought it was important to honor my last living aunt of the Farden family. Of the 13, she's number 12, and that's Auntie Edna Ina Pualani Farden Beckart. She's 93 years of age. She is a composer in her own right, and composed many songs with Auntie Irmgard. She also was a teacher, and she came down from Hawaii Island to be at tonight's song contest. So we're dedicating this to you, Auntie Edna.
Ka puni ho'i a ka koe